I just wanted to say, welcome back. It's gonna be a very chill day. Do you have your popcorn? Because I have a monster. We're not sponsored. Get your popcorn. Go to the movies. Just sit down, relax, watch something. Drive safely. Welcome back to the Equation of Life podcast. My name is Aryan.
My name is Mikhail.
I'm sorry for my unprofessionalism today. I am Shulek.
You see?
So one of the complaints that one of the complaints that I've received recently is that we're not very clear with what the podcast is supposed to be about. I put it from my friend, and about like 15 minutes in, he's like, "Yo, what's this about?" So today's
What is this one about?
discussion,
No, yeah. This is
conversation, discussion. Your daily dose of us is gonna be about AI and whether or not AI is going to take over this planet. This
yeah.
dunya.
Oh, before we talk about
we're
it,
doing the other one.
No, we'll do the AI one
we'll
first.
do the AI
We'll do
okay,
the AI
so
one
before we start this, we have to address the big elephant in the room, or the lack of one, or like not lack of one.
Giraffe.
Giraffe.
The giraffe
yes.
is not here.
Karan's not here, sadly. He became a lawyer. Now he's a human rights activist, an LGBTQ activist, and he's now solving crimes for the world.
Karan was unable to make it due to prior commitments, but
We have Schluck's toes instead.
today I will be attempting to play the part. I'm not going to be attempting to play any part.
We can't replace him. Like
We can't
he's unique, but he will be back, of course. This will be like a thing. Like one person will be missing, and then we'll still.
No,
record.
It's
What-
not going to be a thing.
So-
But if one person is unavailable day of recording, we've decided we move
We move.
back to the discussion.
Yeah.
We
Yes.
should actually start this properly.
So, we're talking about AI.
We are talking about AI.
It's what does that stand for? Artificial
Artificial
intelligence. And has it taken over the world?
Will it take over the world? Has it taken over the world? Well, I think my view on this is rather boring. Everyone thinks, I think a lot of people, they think, is AI going to take over the world? They think of robots and wars and, humanity being enslaved and just doing the bidding of the robots. I don't think that's going to happen.
What-
I hope it doesn't happen.
So, what do you think is going to happen?
Well, I would like to hear your opinion on whether or not that's going to happen.
So, here's the thing. I think exactly what happens in the movie is going to happen. I think that we are going to reach a point. Actually, I don't know if this is going to happen. But I think that right now, what is happening is we're moving closer and closer to the point where AI is going to become too knowledgeable for us, and we're going to have to find a way to stop it. Because there's something very interesting that I saw on the net. That I think
The net.
on the net, on the internet. So I saw that there was something that happened that an AI was writing, like something to do with destroying humanity on its own.
Yo, okay, this reminds me of a conspiracy theorist. Not theorist, a conspiracy theory. The theorist who told me this theory was 13 years old. And apparently there is a conspiracy theory that goes that there's going to be an AI that exists one day or someone's going to build a robot, something along those lines, that's going to kill every human except for the ones that helped to build it. Now the caveat here is if no one builds it, there will be no such AI. But if someone builds it, all the man they die except that human being.
So then humanity ceases to exist.
Yeah, you can't. Yeah.
You can't do anything to
Can't
do with
procreate one
reproduction
person
unless we become bacteria.
unless we go back.
Unless,
A couple-
sorry, wait, no. I'm going to retract that statement. I don't know if I'm correct or not. And
No, but that's how single-celled organisms reproduce.
a binary fission. I don't
feel
know.
like single-celled organisms are as far as we can get from AI.
Oh God, I don't know if binary fission is the right term. Fuck.
Okay.
Shit.
We're not super informed, but we are giving our best
Listen, I
thoughts
think
on
we
this
should
topic.
We should put a little disclaimer out there. Really, what we are presenting to you is purely our opinion and not scientific fact in any way. shape,
The
or
issue
form.
is I should know this.
We're here to make you laugh
Yes.
with sometimes and inspire deep, thought-provoking things, such as I think our life has become easier because of the conception of AI.
That is very much true.
For example, me and Aryan, we were geeking out about a tiny little fact is, I don't know if we can call this AI, the technology's been around for a while, but it has AI in the name, so we're going to call it AI. So one of the things that we used to struggle with a lot is when we were sitting down and editing these, as you can see, we've got fewer cameras today, but usually we've got 4 cameras, 1 per person.
Yes.
It is a pain to sit there and change it to who's talking. Because we tend to
Jump.
and cut each other off a lot.
Yes.
I think I'm more guilty of that than a lot of other people. So I will not say anything for the rest of this episode. I will finish my point, then I will not say anything for the rest of this episode. So yeah, we found something. It's a plugin. It's an Adobe plugin that basically does the work for us. And I was sitting there with my mouth aghast because it took him 3 hours to edit the last episode and 1.5 minutes to edit this episode. We haven't edited it yet. I cannot make those promises. But it'll be way quicker than 3 hours at home.
That means that we're going to have a better upload schedule.
Inshallah. Inshallah.
Yes, inshallah.
And on that point, I think that's the future of AI from my perspective.
Inshallah.
AI. But I think AI in the future will be slowly integrated as a tool for us to use every day. It'll be like a normal tool, like ChatGPT. We'll be using it as a better way of interacting with people, like how it's kind of used now, but it's not mass integrated. I think it's going to be to the point where Neuralink will have a successful way of implanting a computer into our minds, and then we use AI from that computer and like, oh, ChatGPT, I want to make a good answer for this interview question right on the spot.
Here is an interesting theory. You know how human beings are physically limited?
Yes.
Our mind can accomplish a lot more than what our bodies can.
Yeah.
So, imagine this scenario, yeah? We're exploring, let's say, something really big, like the space.
Them spaces.
Like space.
Outer
But think
space.
about how much, I don't want to say easier, I think it costs more, but it becomes better on our bodies if you, like you mentioned that Neuralink thing. Imagine if you could actually control a robot with your brain sitting here, but the robot's over there in Mars. So now you're not facing those conditions. You're not facing the lack of oxygen. The robots, they don't need that to survive. This is what we come up with. We've built rovers and stuff that have been all right.
Yeah. What was the one that died recently? Well, not died, but lost battery. Discovery. That one.
What? I don't think it was Discovery.
No.
I think it was a Voyager.
No. Voyager's
Voyager's a
the
long time
rocket.
back.
No, Voyager's the rocket.
Voyagers.
Voyager's the rocket.
The drone. No, not the drone.
Voyager's the one
buggy
that's
thing.
because Voyager's the one that's going as far as it possibly can. One of them is about to leave wasn't one of them going to leave our solar system?
So the Voyager is out of the solar system.
Voyager 1.
Voyager 1. I think it was launched in the 90s.
Yeah.
Like late 90s?
Yeah.
Or was it late 80s? I should know this. I studied this, but
A long time back. That's all.
that's true. The biggest issues is knowledge retention. I think AI will help with that too. You think knowledge is gonna take a hit because if that thing comes true, then in your head you're thinking, I wish I knew the answer to this, but you don't have to because you could just be like, what's the answer?
So I have a good point to make for that. So recently, there was not a study done recently. It was a while back on if our generation is worse at orientation, basically knowing directions on maps. If we're given a map and a compass,
I don't think so. I can keep up with my ancestors. Maybe not the ones who use the stars and stuff, but a paper map, I could keep up.
Well, you'd be surprised. Statistically, we were much worse off. The reason being they found, and it was a correlation study. They didn't know the causation behind it. It was a higher correlation of bad directional problems with the participants or orientation difficulties with participants that use Google Maps. So they believed, a reason being, because of our commitment of people looking down on our phones for direction stuff, it's hard for us to have good memory of local area. Because if you ask your parents, my dad used to not have a map and travel all the way to the USA to see our cousins whenever we did road trips, and he knew the interstate numbers and everything. But now we just follow a map, and we don't even hear the interstate number. We're like, oh, it's pointing left. Go left.
That's so
Pointing
true.
right, left.
I don't know the name. I don't know which highway is the QEW, nor which one's the 403, or which one's the 401. I just know which way to go.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I don't know the names of how to get to McMaster University from here, but I know how to go there. I don't know which highway to take, but I know which one to take direction-wise, but not the name. I don't know if that one's the 403 or the QEW. I have no clue. I just know which way to go.
Now, Mookie, you are a consistent driver. You drive a lot. How, could you, without your phone, have a good GPS angle of going from wherever you live to Brampton or specific addresses from
Mr.
memory.
Producer, you happen to travel with me quite consistently. How often do I use a GPS?
Like 2% of the time. He'll ask me to let me know which exit to take, but he'll know how to get.
So I've actually made this.
He'll ask for the intersection. And then God will find any intersection, but he'll get there as well.
So I actually make this a habit. Even if I do pull up a GPS, I will look at the route beforehand and scan it, and I'll know where to go. But I also have been driving quite a lot. And when I drive to my cousin's house out in Virginia, I don't use a GPS. I use Waze to tell me where there's cops if I need to slow down, which is it saved my life on more than one occasion. There was one I'm not incriminating myself on video. But yeah, I do agree with you though, because I feel like because we have these tools, it would be foolish not to use them, and I think that's what AI is gonna. That's what I think AI already is, and that's what I think is gonna become. I completely agree with you. That is gonna become a tool that's gonna make our life easier. For example, editing this podcast. I was at work and I needed to write an email to request time off for Eid. I wrote one word and then I said, why am I doing this? And I opened up ChatGPT and I said, write me an email to request time off for Eid.
Exactly. You don't need to do anything.
I don't think I've sent an email at work that I've drafted myself for a while. In fact,
I just got a very good view of someone's butt. That will go on the podcast.
Yeah. So we're going to meet. The shorts will already be up by the time that this episode comes out, but I will explain what we're doing now. Is we've got Mr. Producer who's walking around, taking some BTS shots, some stories. We're also going to take some key nuggets of the episode, which oftentimes don't relate to anything we're talking about at all, in order to draw people.
Exactly.
So you can give us your ears. That's all come out right.
The
Anyway,
eyes.
I am completely stalling for time because one of our members is up and left, but he's back to AI. But yeah, I think AI is going to become a tool. I use ChatGPT at work so much.
Dude, I have not come up with a single essay topic, and I had to take 2 English courses because med school for some reason requires you to take a full year of English. I've had to write 4 essays, plus another course that required me to write another essay, all of which, none of the topics were mine.
Yeah, I actually have on my phone, I have a note in my notes app that has a list of 4 or 5 different applications that I guess are considered AI. That between those 4 or 5 different applications takes care of this entire podcast business. Coming up with ideas, which sometimes we do ourselves, let's be honest. A lot of times, I do just feed my topics into ChatGPT and he'll give me more open-ended questions. It edits it.
Repurposes
repurposes it. So it takes this form of content and changes it to go onto a whole bunch of other social medias. I think eventually we're going to arrive at a point where we're going to have to do very minimal things ourselves. The only thing that'll be left to do is probably like physical tasks.
Yeah.
But I don't think in our generation we're gonna arrive to the Starlink thing. Was it Starlink? Is that what you said?
Neuralink.
Yeah. I highly doubt that's gonna happen. Maybe when we're like pushing this. No, I firmly do agree with you, especially the fact that like
there's a lot of restrictions currently put on any technology that's touching your brain or affecting us biologically, mainly because of safety issues. Like no one really knows how. Like we've seen a lot of the positives. Like for example, Neuralink, I believe, sponsored a study with a neurodivergent patient and a neurodegenerative patient. They had neurodegenerative disease similar to Stephen Hawking, where they're not able to move. Like they were pretty much like still in their wheelchair. But with Neuralink, they were able to control instead of needing their fingers to type, they control it on a machine to say audio for them, and like a better way for them to control parts of the body. And that's the helpfully for the future. But we don't know the cons yet, because a lot of the news it just puts out like the pause. We don't know. It's like it's going to be like Terminator. We're gonna see Skylink come out of nowhere. Arnold Schwarzenegger comes out right here. I need that sink into the chopper.
That's not Terminator.
That's not Terminator.
That's not Terminator.
That's Okay. I got movies. I got movies. I got movies mixed up. You get my
By the
point.
way, I'm trying so hard to A, be politically correct, and B, make sure I'm not cutting anyone off. I think I'm doing a great job.
I think we should just relax a little bit. I'm not saying let's not be politically correct, but let's just relax.
Unwind.
Everyone, let's take one deep breath.
I'll already exhaled by the time I said that.
Trump or Trudeau?
No, we should be talking about it right now. Neither.
We're not going there. Neither.
I think we should cut that part out.
No, actually, that's a beautiful segue into a topic I already talked about discussing this: ethics and morals surrounding AI.
That's a very good point.
Because right now, if you ask ChatGPT to, I don't know, write a message and then piss off your significant other, it won't do that. But
How do you think AI affects politics?
I don't know. I think the mic picked that up, but Mr. Producer said, "How do you think AI affects politics?" I think that could be its own other thing. I don't know politics. Listen, I go in, I look at whose name I like the most, tick that box, and I put the bar, I put it there.
If I gotta say anything that's neutral for politics, I think say that someone creates an AI, like they make a new version of ChatGPT, like they pay Microsoft, hey, I want to run ChatGPT, like a version of it, and can you guys I can make my own platform and everything, can I edit parts of it? They make a left-wing
become a
one.
business as well, like renting out little pieces of AI that you can use. Actually, while we're on this topic, there's already websites that allow you to create your own AI bots to place into your websites. And there's actually been a version of this in what I do for work. I work with Microsoft Dynamics. There's already been a version of this for a long time. It's called Power AI or Power Box.
Powerbot,
Virtual
yeah.
agents.
Yeah.
Basically, you know when you go onto a website, and a little chat box will appear at the bottom. How can I assist you today? Yeah, there's not an actual person sitting there going,
how can I assist you?
insane. But that technology has been around for a while.
Yeah.
Now, I also read somewhere that Microsoft, I believe, has acquired ChatGPT. No,
They're invested
they're
large.
invested in ChatGPT.
Yeah, because Bing has it, right?
Yeah,
Bing
a lot of
has it,
their
yeah.
AI now is gonna start becoming embedded into these apps. So Dynamics will have it, Microsoft Word will have it, Excel will have it. You will no longer need to know formulas. You'll just be like, hey man, I just want to add up this column and this column and put the average in this column, and it'll just write those formulas for you.
No.
In fact, I think ChatGPT already does that. It's just not embedded into Excel, so you need to open it up in another window. But the future of this is that it's going to get embedded into all of these applications, and in a way, just make us lazier. Yeah, I think AI will make us dumber as a
Yeah, we will become a lot dumber.
But let's say this. Allowed to do all that
Oh, we
betting.
might achieve more.
Exactly.
We'll achieve more, but is
It'll be a
it?
lot harder to stand out.
But is it us achieving it, or is it us just like getting something else to do? Like imagine, it's like think about it like this. It's I guess it's kind of like paying someone else to do your homework.
I would argue against that for this very factor. Would you say is it another person's achievement to drive in a Grand Prix in this certain time period, or like is it someone's achievement to fly all around the Earth in a certain time? Like is it our achievement to fly across the Earth to explore space? Because we're using tools.
Are you trying to make a distinction between the piece of technology used and the user?
Yeah.
Here's why. Here's how I can. And it's allow me to counteract your argument with a counter argument. I used counter twice. Whatever. Let's take F1. In F1, you have teams. Like Red Bull. The current races for Red Bull are Verstappen and Perez. They both drive very, very similar cars. There's little tweaks made specific to the driver, but they're very minimal. I know in F1, like hundreds of a second come into the equation as well, but the cars are very similar. But if you look at it, yes, the Red Bull team is leading currently, but last year and the year before then, Verstappen was world champion for the last 2 years. Now, is that Max Verstappen who's world champion, or is it Red Bull who's world champion? Because Perez also races for Red Bull, and Perez is not world champion.
Boris Perez on the chart.
I think,
Very close.
Very close.
Top 5.
but I think that makes that distinction.
Amelia Earhart was Amelia Earhart.
Yeah.
Was it her or her plane that made the accomplishment?
Her. I'm giving that say. Every day we use tools. Now it's completely different if you say that you're just using ChatGPT to make your whole essay for you and you're just doing like let's say only 5%
We don't
of
do that in
it.
school. You know,
Don't
We're
do
not.
that.
We're not
Don't do
promoting.
that.
We're not promoting it at
like,
all.
look it over. Make sure you understand Wagwan, and then go forward with it.
Otherwise, it'll show up on your record.
Do
It'll show
use
up.
AI as a tool, because I think if you don't use AI as a tool, you're going to get left behind.
You are.
But
At this point now, you are.
That's what I'm exactly saying. We use it as a tool. It's like Max Verstappen using his car. His car is his own personal tool, his vehicle.
But the issue is now a lot of people are using it for more than a tool. That's where I think people are going to get lazy because now it's like, okay, AI is becoming smarter. So why not just, we have this idea, we've come up with the idea, cool. Just like plug in like 2 words and then it's done its thing. Right? So that's what I mean. Like, yeah, we're going to become lazy because we no longer have to work for it. We just have to come up with the idea and then just bing, bang, boom, it's done.
There's a saying. Well, not a saying. There was like a interview done, I think, with Bill Gates, where he's asked what's the type of people he hires. I would hire he said I would hire a guy who gets C plus all during university because if he finds a more efficient way to do a job. Because for every job we have, we're looking for efficiency first, and then the hard work in that because we look for output.
He has said that he would always choose the lazier person because the lazier person
Has done
choose
an
the more
efficient one.
efficient or would find the more efficient way to get things done. Something you said there made me think about something, and I have forgotten about said thing, so I will ask you to keep talking in hopes I can remember it. Oh, inflation. I know it doesn't seem like it counts into it, but it does. It does. Yeah, it does. Think about it. So right now, in let's say the software world, if you make an app and the app takes off, you get bare money, right? But the difference, a lot of people have ideas for an app, and the difference is there's a bridge between people who have the ideas and the people who actually execute those ideas and execute them well. And on that bridge, a lot of people fall off. Or a lot of people don't even get on that bridge. Let's just take apps for an example. Now we've got AI that can help you code. We've got AI that can scan your code for any issues. All of a sudden, you don't need a team behind you making that app. So it becomes easier to make money. But we know the easier it becomes to make money, the less value money has. So I think AI is driving us towards a place where, potentially there's a lot more risk of just robots attacking us with guns. Maybe money holds less value. And at that point, where does cryptocurrency come in if physical money holds less value? And then, listen, I'm a huge believer in advocating the fact that, we're moving towards a digital age. Cryptocurrency is going to become new currency. But when you even look at things like trading now, right? Like stocks, all of a sudden, you no longer have to, let's take day trading, for example. You no longer have to sit there and inspect those charts. You could build an AI bot that'll inspect those charts for you and make those trades. All of a sudden, it's now, potentially, everything is hypothetical right now. But it's a very real possibility that becomes so much easier to make money. So now the markets are going to be influenced. The SEC is going to have to step in and lay down a whole bunch of new regulations, all because of AI. This AI thing actually affects so many chapters of our lives, and I don't think enough people are concerned with or talking about. And I think it's going to be very, very interesting to see where the world is going.
I think the government is going to step in a lot of ways. I think definitely the government is going to step in.
Now here's where it comes back to ethics and morals, right? One of the biggest things, like let's say the first things about AI, I guess we could call it AI, was self-driving. That's a form of AI. And one of the biggest issues or one of the biggest debates with self-driving has been the ethics debate. If you're driving and you see 10 children in front of you, and the car's going to crash, the car's going to crash, the car's going to have to make a choice. Do I take out 10 children or do I take out one elderly woman?
Yeah.
Or elderly man, elderly thing, right? What does the car choose? Okay, now let's replace that. Let's say it's random children or your grandmother. The human brain works differently there as opposed to what the car would do. And I'm not saying there's a right or wrong answer. Everyone's gonna have a different answer, and I hope it's a situation that nobody has to be placed in ever, because that's just unfortunate at that point. Just on you, bro. Like, my bad, bro. I'm sorry you have to go through that in life, but it opens up so many different ethics debates.
This is like that. You're taking me back to like this one course I took. I was in for like 2 days. Bioethics.
Bioethics?
You know the trolley problem. Have you heard of the trolley problem?
No, enlighten us.
The trolley problem is basically like it's that train track. You're sitting, you have the control, right? There's like 10 people on the track. There's one person on the track. You have to kill someone, or you have to direct the train to one course. Which way are you doing?
And then you replace that one person with a family member.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, everything's skewed.
Yeah.
I'm taking out 10 children to save my mom. I'm sorry. I don't care.
No.
Your children shouldn't be on there anyway. If your child's going to be born and go play on a train track, it was a stupid child anyway. You know?
I think, yeah.
There's another difference between right and wrong.
So then your parents are stupid. Why are you sending your children in your train tracks?
All right, this will come down to the government, but I have the same concerns.
That's the
Hey,
government.
guys.
Okay, that's a completely...
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It comes to a completely different field of topics when we get that far into ethics. But to the inflation point you were saying, I would say it is a big concern if we don't use it to lower the cost of living. If we can't use AI to lower the cost of living, then we are like humanity's packed up. It's ready to fail.
Here's the issue with not inflation, but with financial things. That man at the core of his being, a human at the core of their being. Sorry, we're including all of the man them out here, but
Well, the woman them as well, and the gender
no,
them.
Homo sapien. I think I've covered all
Hey,
my
bro, what about the people that identify as attack alcoholics?
the general population? I don't even know what. Whatever.
Sorry, I'm just challenging you.
Listen, we are very greedy creatures. There's no such thing as enough when it comes to money. You know, there's a car collector in Montreal who I follow. I won't name drop him, but my man has got 15 G-Wagons. 15 G-Wagons, bro. Whenever he leaves the house, he rolls 3 G-Wagons deep. Right? I'm not. It's not my place to comment on if that's right or wrong. But that's just the reality of it. That's how much money he has, and is consistently making more money. There's no... A lower cost of living is not going to change how much money you want.
Right. It'll just make it so you could get more, but you're still gonna want more money.
Potentially in an easier way.
But the thing is, the government's concern is not, we want to give you more money. The government's concern is, can we give you easier way to live? Like, meet your base values. That's my whole thing. Like, if we can use AI to build vertical farming or like help reduce the cost of food, like make logistics like more
I think
efficient
it
for
goes
that.
back into that ethics thing,
Yeah.
right? Vertical farming using AI still means you get rid of farmers. A lot of farmers.
I would say that not
Or-
true.
This is why I would disagree with you. I knew you would disagree with me. I counter disagreed with you in my brain. I am playing chess, you are playing checkers. I am 3 moves away from checkmating you, and I'm pre-moving.
Okay, let's hear it.
So, whenever a new tool is launched, you have to train people. There's a lot of farmers who own a lot of land. Vertical farming would mean we don't need that much land. That land is going to get allocated to you. Maybe the government's going to take it back to do other things. Now, how do you choose which farmers get to keep their land and which farmers don't? Because, supply and demand. If the supply goes up, right, you gotta match the demand. If there's not enough demand, if you're producing more, you gotta start axing some people. How do you choose who you're axing? In my view, it's very easy. The people who are easy to train. But obviously, it's going to be a very big learning curve, and you don't want someone who is struggling to keep up to be there. If there's enough people who are maybe finding it easier to learn, or who are doing well with their learning process, the people who aren't doing as well, they're inevitably going to have to find something else to do. And now when you've spent your entire life as a farmer in traditional farming method, I'm not clowning on farmers. I think farmers are great. I wouldn't have chicken without farmers. But and other things. But regardless, this applies to whatever industry. I'm only saying farmer because that's the example that we're rolling with here. But in any industry, whoever is better at keeping up with it, they're gonna succeed. And the people who aren't, it's like a qualifying lab, right? If you don't meet a certain criteria, you gotta go. Again, ethics and morals. Is that the most ethically correct thing to do? Probably not.
The counter to that? Free markets. You forget, America and Canada, a lot of people still do own their farms, or banks own parts of their farm. And if you start your own vertical farming company, the government's not going to step in unless there's like a critical excess of food or a critical loss to something. I believe that if we give people the freedom to choose to be more efficient in farming and whatever they do, we can build the skills they
I
need.
think you're forgetting the government is a mosquito. The mosquito has defeated me. I forgot my point. Crap! I just blended my quick. To a paw.
But the government will take many actions, but at the end of the day, they won't interfere unless there's a big issue that comes up.
No, I think the government is going to interfere. I think if what happens is AI starts taking over too many people's jobs, because then no one's going to have a job. Because not everyone's qualified in software. I'm not
Why
qualified.
do governments care about jobs because of GDP and the economy? If AI does a better job at promoting your GDP,
I think
I don't think that. Or maybe this.
Well, I know that would happen. The homelessness would rise if
exactly. And right now
Yeah,
we're trying to get to a place like I think the UN's goals is to eliminate poverty or eliminate global hunger.
I have a solution that gets rid of the world's poor people and the hungry people in the same fell swoop. But due to political correctness, I can't talk about it.
This whole part might just be blurred. You're like this is all. No, Mr. Producer is giving suggestions and advice that no person should be giving to another person.
You can always bench 2 plates, sandwiches.
I'll be
I
right back.
I saw an ass again.
Okay. I'll be back in 15 minutes. I have to pick up my mom.
Raw. Looks like it's me. Looks like it's a conversation.
Oh, we've lost. Where producer step in.
Producer, step in. Come sit right here, producer.
Making his first
Appearance onto the podcast. Our first guest.
Officially,
It's
the
our-
face reveal. The man behind the setup. Why?
Let's
It's
go.
not face reveal. He goes on our story all the time.
Yeah, but it's our first
time in
guest.
the podcast.
It's our first guest.
I really know I'm gonna hear his voice.
Wagwan broskies.
That's.
Did you guys think that's what he sounded like? I don't know.
It's almost like a cat out of different. What's up, Shlok? No, not
Shalok is
I don't know.
Wagwan's brother.
Is that an insult to Shloke or an insult to Mr. Producer?
Compliment to both of them.
Because they're both.
Listen,
He did say
Shalok's
he's
a
mesmerized by
smart guy.
Shloke.
They're both tens.
Shalok
I'm mesmerized by Shloke. I've seen his
Listen,
ass twice in the span of 15 minutes. It's glorious.
Are you feeling the type of way?
Now my heart's beating so fast.
Oh, anyway, we're back.
I just want everyone to know this is how it was for the hour that we were setting up. We were just laughing for about maybe 35 minutes of that time.
Anyway, back to the AI discussion. The one thing I really enjoy about this entire topic is we could say anything, and there's some probability of us being right. Not that I believe in probability, but there is some probability.
That was a whole thing before.
There is.
That was a whole thing before.
I think I pissed off a lot of mathematicians, a lot of statisticians, who basically their job is useless. I need to learn when to stop talking.
It's okay.
Anyway, but we could say whatever, and because we're in such early stages, AI is going to reach into a lot of branches of our lives that we can't even begin to fathom.
True.
Like even right now, when we began talking, I'm sure each of us had in their own mind a direction that this conversation was going to go in, and I'm sure none of us anticipated even like half of what we talked about today.
I did not think about the government.
I did not think about farmers.
I mean, I guess it all comes back to that one thing, like too much of good stuff is bad stuff. Because right now, AI will help us tremendously, regardless of what it does.
Actually,
Like, I don't think AI can right now do much harm, but give it 50 years, obviously someone's going to want to take advantage of it at some
that
point.
is true. Every time any new form of any new invention or any new technology is put forth, there's bad people in the world.
Oh, yeah, 100%.
Oh, wait, here's an interesting one. No, I don't know if we can talk about. Oh, it's actually this is a future episode coming out. We've got it written down in our list of ideas. Is good versus evil. Where and how do we draw that line? You know what I love about this podcast is the fact that each of us have our own opinions, and although we're from maybe very similar backgrounds, we're from very different backgrounds as well. Especially in terms of what we've studied and the things that we enjoy and the content that we consume on a daily basis. I think that's foreshadowing for the next episode coming up. But I think that plays a lot into who we are as people, and I think that lends to the interesting natures
Of this podcast.
of our conversations. So I think I've said a lot.
But how do you think AI will affect your life? Like, forget the government, forget farmers, forget the GDP, forget economy. The question is, in 20 years from now, because, God willing, you will live
I
that
think
long.
I don't think anyone can make any accurate predictions about how AI will affect their life
'Cause
20 years from now, let alone 5 years from now.
You're a software engineer, like, that's what you do
that's
as a
why-
career, right? So, like, AI can literally do your job.
That's why, well, who writes the AI?
No, I mean, you can literally have AI do your job. if you
That's what
code
I'm
it.
saying, yeah, because I'm in software and I understand how quickly technology actually grows.
Right.
Right now, we're in the birthing stage of AI. It's very, very much so early stages. Technology grows really fast, right? But just the smartphone that you have in your hands is what, 2023? The first smartphone, technically, the first usable smartphone was what?
2000.
Like the full screen.
What,
Blackberries were making smartphones, but the first full
Like the iPhone?
screen was the iPhone.
Yeah.
Or maybe, but around that time,
2008.
2007.
Yeah.
2007 is
Yeah.
when the first iPhone came
Yeah.
out. And, a lot of the full screen phones, they came out then. And, if you tried to use one of them today, you'd be like, what is this bakwas? Bakwas means garbage. What is this bakwasi? Bakwasi, it means a lot of garbage. But, right? What is this? In a very short time, 2007 to 2023 is only 16 years.
Yeah.
In 16 years, look at how far we've come. Look at how many things it has replaced. Potentially, computers are next.
That's a very good point, but I think with that comes a lot of opportunities as well. Because if you look back date to the smartphones invention, we then had social media, and now we have influencers and people who create user-generated content that are getting paid for this thing, right? And they're making very decent money. So I think when AI comes into norm, I think it's going to be depending on who can utilize AI the best.
And that's why I think we should start now.
Yeah. So that's why, like, if you don't care about AI, in 20 years, you will
You
literally
have
be
to.
struggling.
I
You
don't
have
even think it's going to take 20 years. 5 years.
Well, it only took 7 years for the phones to get where they are now to when they started. Smartphones.
I think you're right, the first great phones that you can look at and say, yo, that's crazy. Like, I think iPhone 4S stage, which
iPhone
would have been like
4S.
what? 20, well, I remember.
When they
how-
started introducing fingerprints,
Yeah.
and Face
iPhone
ID,
5S was 2013. iPhone 5S was
Yes,
2013.
right? Or even to the 4S. The
Yeah.
4S came with Siri.
Yeah.
That was
yeah.
crazy.
Yeah.
Right? And the 5S had the fingerprint sensor.
Yeah.
Right? And then, bro, you didn't think about it. Within like 2013, you said, right?
Yeah.
And then within a couple of years, you had what, in-screen fingerprint sensors?
Yeah. On the Samsungs.
Yeah. Now you're at a point where you've got Face ID, right? People are starting to hide their cameras. Like, technology moves at a very, very fast pace. Innovation always happens faster than invention.
Yeah.
And AI has been invented.
I think it's like, I know for a fact that, I don't know 20 years from now, but I know for a fact that soon a doctor or, like, let's say an interventional cardiologist, an oncologist or whatever is going to be able to perform a procedure sitting halfway across the world, controlling a robot through a headset and go in, let's say, put in a cent in someone.
And
I know
don't
for a
think
fact
it's-
they're already trying to do that.
And I don't think it's gonna be a long time after that.
But does that feel right to you? Because that doesn't feel right to me.
It
Like
has again,
to me, it doesn't. I would never trust somebody to do that.
and that's why the medical industry, the medical profession has a lot of there are gonna be a lot of issues ethically and morally with that, because how many people want to be operated by a robot? How many people want to be operated on by a bunch of robots that are maybe being controlled by
Gets
humans?
to the point where it's gonna get to a point. Well, here's the thing, right? When those phones first came out,
Yeah.
a lot of people opposed them. A lot of people opposed them, right?
Really, I didn't see much backlash.
No, because we were 6.
No, but with who's gonna
We
oppose
were,
an
we were in
iPhone?
middle school when it happened. When the
The
new
iPhone came out, we
Yeah.
were 6.
Where was it?
Yeah,
2007, we were 6.
2007.
Jesus Christ.
It took a while for it to catch on. Like,
But-
if you look at the numbers early on for both, sales for both iPhone and Android, and there's a reason for it. That's because at the time, BlackBerry was dominating the market. And there was still a few years where because I remember thinking, my dad used to work at Cisco Systems at the time. And Cisco gives you a phone.
And it was a
They give you phone.
BlackBerry.
And I remember thinking, making the choice between a BlackBerry Touch, which was the flip-up one,
Yeah.
or an iPhone 5. And at the time, there was a lot of people using BlackBerry Touches.
When iPhone 5 came out.
Yeah, a lot of people in the professional sector were using
You know why? Because Blackberries have this reputation of very, very good digital security.
Yeah,
Well, yeah, back then I don't think
Yeah.
Apple security
no,
was up there
but
yet. Yeah.
think about how quickly it was adopted when it came into widespread use.
Right.
And I understand that this is a slightly different dilemma, right? The phone compared to robots operating on you, completely different. But I think once it becomes the norm, it will very quickly become the norm. It'll become normalized, right? Like even if you sit down now, why does my watch come undone? Damn, I don't
It's
think
the
I've-
AI.
You're so passionate.
It's
I
the
don't think I've been gesturing.
it's the
that
AI.
much.
It's the AI. It's already controlling you.
Facts.
Siri. It's Siri.
But even if you sit down, let's say with your grandson, right? That's 2 generations.
Yeah.
But just think about the huge difference between the two of you when it comes down to technological use.
Bro, it's crazy.
Difference between one of my grandfathers, he's passed. But the difference in age between him and I was 50 years, maybe 45 years. And 45 years seems like a lot of time. It's really not a lot of time.
I think it's a long time.
It's really not that long.
50
Half a life.
years
It's a half life.
is what? That's 50 years ago from today was what? 1973?
Yeah.
1970?
Yeah, my dad will be 50
Oh,
this
we
year.
did. That's a long time ago.
It is a long time
Now
ago,
if you
but
look
it's-
at it to
if,
like-
you,
Yeah.
if you zoom out of human history, it's a blip. But think of how far we've come in 50 years.
Yeah.
So my question to you now is, you look at the gap between you and your grandfather, right? What do you think your gap is going to be between you and 2 generations to come?
I think it'll be way bigger.
But
You think
there's
it'll be
also
bigger?
Because my
You don't think we'll be able to keep up with the technology that we have now and the resources that we have now? You don't think we'll be able to, keep that gap close?
Here's why. Because when my grandfather was born, he was born in the age of invention. Even my father, largely, that was the age of invention when it came to technology.
Right.
A lot of new technologies were being invented.
now we're in the age of
Now we're in the
innovation.
age of innovation. Innovation moves way quicker. Look at a car. Let's take any random car on the street. Let's take a Civic.
Right.
Yeah, it's
2023
versus
to
2013.
2013 to
Massive.
2003.
Massive difference.
20 years. In our lifetime, we have seen it go from a hatchback with an ECU on it
Yeah.
to, granted, the world's most stolen car, but it's the amount of computers on that car,
Yeah.
crazy.
So you don't think we will be able to keep up from 2 generations from now?
2 generations now, I highly doubt.
Because
No,
my thinking is we have information at our fingertips now, as compared to 50 years ago. You would have to talk to someone qualified or go to a library or really look for information. But now we have information
Because,
at our tips, so
yeah.
you're learning 24/7.
Because also think about this technology is
also
already integrated a lot with us. Back then we didn't.
Yeah,
they didn't
that's
have to
the
do that.
technology we know today. Back then, they probably felt the same way about their grandparents and our grandparents, right?
I don't think so. I think lifestyle between 4 generations and 2 generations was quite similar.
If you think what?
I highly doubt that because my grandparents, they had a car, because especially coming from, first of all, my grandparents were from a completely different country than my grand,
Great grandparents.
great grandparents. So
Well, I don't think the
I-
people like from 1920s were Amish. Like, I don't think they were opposed to the idea of cars.
No, but there were no cars, at least not in the
No, there wasn't. You're
not
right
in
about
third world
that.
countries.
You're right about
My grandfather's generation was the first one, in my family at least, was the first generation to start driving.
Right.
Before then, you traveled on horses and
Elephants. at
It's
least.
things like, imagine when the airplane was invented, or ships, for example, one that will take airplanes. All of a sudden, this entire stretch of land becomes available to you for the first time, where it was inaccessible to all of the previous generations. And my thing here is, I think when you're at this age, when you're between the age of 15 to 40 maybe, you're willing to take, not even 40, like 30, you're willing to take a lot more chances. I feel like it would have been easier to get my grandfather on a plane as opposed to my great-great-grandfather on a plane. And I think that is going to continue.
Okay, interesting. Because it's hard to fathom a world where, information at your fingertips and you're going to be like, nah, I'm okay.
Because the
Do you know what I mean?
information is
Yeah.
at our fingertips. It's just going to get closer.
Especially people like us, we don't say no to new information. We don't say we don't want to learn about this. We don't want to see what's going on. We're not like those.
You also have to factor in the physical limitations of man. I think that plays a huge role into any sort of adaptation for anything. Like, let's say this Neuralink thing comes into thing. I'd say, it takes 50, 55 years. We're what, 70, 80 by then? Right? We're 55 years.
Yeah, I guess. Would you put a chip
At
in
that
your
point,
skull?
I wouldn't put a chip in my. I wouldn't put a chip. I wouldn't put a chip.
Yeah,
Right,
would
but
you
now
put a
imagine
chip
someone
in
who's
yourself?
20 at the time, like, sign me up.
hell
That would
nah.
not count, right?
Yeah,
They're going to be a lot more willing to adopt any new
That-
technologies.
No, that 20-year-old is wild, bro. You gotta stop.
Anyway, I think this is a topic that we can talk about at length for a long, long, long time.
We're fucked.
I think dude, this
Yo, I didn't even think about the chip, bro. I didn't even think about the chip,
No,
bro.
but that's why I love this topic. There's so many things you can talk about. You wouldn't be wrong. The odds are you wouldn't be wrong. And I think
Dude.
as long as we make sure that we're not making the mistake that a lot of the other people did. Like, let's say when Bitcoin came up, right? In 2008.
Yeah.
Now there's people who are Bitcoin millionaires and people who still think it's a scam. But, the people who invested in it then are reaping the benefits and some. And I think AI is going to do that, but have
Well,
much
Bitcoin was like a risk, though, right? Like, I don't think.
Even adopting AI right now is a risk. There's a lot of people that
I
think
don't
it's a
see
bad.
No.
it.
Okay. Like the risk right now is a very.
I don't think it's a life-changing
Like, okay,
risk.
let's think about very simple
People
AI.
was investing into Bitcoin.
It was like people put their life savings into that shit.
I'm not saying you have to put your life savings into it. Even if you put $500 back then, which is not a lot of money.
Because like a coin was what, $3,000 back then, right?
No,
When it was
no,
first
no.
made, it was like cents, bro. Like 20
No sense, but what's it actually caught traction?
No, I'm talking about in the beginning, because that's the stages of AI that we're in.
No, but in the beginning it wasn't like access to public, like only like people.
No, you could. No, you could. I think you could invest. You
A lot
definitely
of
could.
people couldn't.
You could, because what happened was I know that you totally could invest in like what 2000 and at least even 2010, 2013. You could
Because it was
easily
made in
invest.
2000.
That was crazy.
Yeah.
I never heard of Bitcoin back then.
Because
Not
we were
even- no,
seven.
yeah.
No, you heard of it.
Like I
No,
was,
now.
dude.
I
I was
back then. You said you heard about it.
That was in 2017. That was not in 2000.
I was surprised my dad knew what Bitcoin was back in like 2015 or whatever.
Yeah, my parents invested into it in 2016, I think.
Yeah, I was surprised.
Granted, the company was a scam and they went back out,
That's
they
tough,
took
bro.
everyone's
That's
money
tough,
and ran
man.
away. But that
That's
is the
tough.
thing.
Yeah.
But I mean, like at the very beginning stages of technology, a lot of people, human beings, we don't like change. A lot of people's, wow. A lot of people, they reject change. They
No, wait, we're 22 now.
Dude.
We were 7?
Yeah, we were
We
seven.
were seven.
When were we seven,
bro. We were seven.
Nah,
So
yo,
long
I feel
ago.
old now, bro.
Anyway, so that is, I think we should bring this episode to a wrap.
We've been recording for an hour and 15 minutes.
No, it's been like 40
It's
minutes.
been like 40 minutes.
It's 9:15.
Anyway,
we started
so
at 8:15.
thank
we
you
start at
so
8:15?
much for tuning in again and making us a daily, weekly, monthly, just making us a consistent part
Yes.
of your schedules, we will try to include Mr. Producer as much as possible. A lot of the work that he does.
I'm always
behind
behind the
scenes,
camera.
Yes. He's always
He is as always an integral part of this team. We thoroughly missed Karan in this conversation. I feel like
Garen, I'm on to you. Coming.
he would have added a lot of different insights
Yes.
due to his
Because he's
educational
like
background.
his altitude's different.
I
right?
think he
the
would
air he's breathing.
Yeah,
is
so
different.
he consumes everything much differently.
he would definitely give us like the ethical point of view a
I
lot.
feel like
He would
he would
definitely give us
definitely
the
give us
ethical point of view a lot.
But yes, thank you for tuning in. As always, we have been the equation of life. As always, we'll have sound so robotic.
The X, the Y, the Z, and then the whatever
Equal sign has
equal
left
sign
as
is
well.
gone,
But
and
yes,
the addition sign is also not here.
So you're telling me like in 2 generations from now, if a 20-year-old goes sees AI saying you'll kill this person, they'll be like, I come.
Basically,
And we'll be like those 7-year-olds like, no.
yeah, exactly.
that's it.
I'm done.
That's
I'm
it.
done.
That's
I'm done.
That's the end.